Staccato has released their Glock magazine steel frame gun with a compensator, the P4X, so it brings a lot of questions. Does it shoot as good as an XC? How does the C4X shoot compared to the P4X? Is it ready to be a compensated duty gun? Sit tight and I'll tell you. So at this point, you probably know what this is. It is the heir apparent to the Staccato XC's throne. Staccato has recently been putting all their energy into their HD series of Glock magazine 2011 style pistols. So is this as good as an XC? We'll find out. I've done a bunch of videos on the HD series of pistols at this point, so if you don't know the difference between them, it is a Glock magazine style series, 80 trigger, meaning it has a firing pin block version of the 2011 pistol that does not have a grip safety and has an external extractor and ambi controls, both a slide stop and safety on the opposite side of the pistol. And the grip is notably smaller than a legacy 2011 grip. It's just kind of the right size to where you can get both hands on the pistol but still be able to reach all the controls. There's some other eccentricities about it that I'll tell you kind of at the end of the video, but let's get going. First, the disclosure, this gun is actually on loan from Mike over at Not Just Guns. Mike is a huge 2011 fan. If you get an opportunity to talk to him, he can talk pretty much about anything, but he let me borrow this P4X. I can say whatever I want about it. It's fine. So thanks to Mike at Not Just Guns and the team over there, they're awesome. Some quick particulars about this gun is it is a steel frame that weighs about 34 ounces unloaded with an optic on. The upper on the gun is roughly the same length as the C4X, you know, P4X, C4X. The trigger pull on this specific model on my Lyman digital scale is pulling at about 4.5 pounds. So it's like a good duty rated trigger pull weight. One thing that's notable about it is that it is intended to be a duty gun. The springing is the same as, I believe, the P4 that I have. I don't have a way of knowing what the spring rates are, but it feels similar to my P4. So they didn't go lighter on the spring because of the compensator. So one thing I've been curious about since the C4X came out is how to see whether these side ports are doing anything. I'm sure they tested it at Staccato, but a lot of people I talk to in the industry think a single port for a 9mm minor cartridge is the right thing to do. So I came up with a really simple solution. I'm just gonna hold a piece of paper over the gun and fire it, and we're gonna see how much gas comes out. So I've got the Staccato XC, which does not have ports on the side, to see what it does coming out the top first as a control. All right, from the side with the Staccato XC. You can see the paper basically didn't do anything. This is where you're gonna see the paper go crazy, probably tear it. So yeah, it just absolutely shredded the piece of paper coming off the top. So that's where all the gas is going. I mean, it made confetti, dude. Top port on the P4X. Destroyed the paper a little bit, but there's not as much gas, it looks like, based on how much it hurt the paper. Not scientific, obviously. So here is the side port for the P4X. I didn't see anything come off the paper. The paper didn't get destroyed at all. Let's try it again just to see. Again, it's hitting the paper. You can see that at that time it made the paper crinkle up where the port was, but it's not throwing a significant amount of gas out of the side ports. In fact, you can kind of see the soot from the round going off. So it's not doing a ton to get rid of the gas coming out the side of it. The gun still shoots great, but maybe the side ports don't need to be there. So now we know what the comps are doing. Let's just see how the guns are shooting back to back. So you can see the brass just dribble out the gun. It is barely throwing brass. It's taken pretty much all the snap off of this Fiocchi Range Dynamics 115 that I'm shooting. It's a super, super manageable gun to be shooting. I'm curious about the C4X, which is made out of an aluminum frame, to see how it goes against the steel frame in the P4X. We'll see how that looks. C4X hits in the hand a little bit harder. The rotation is pretty much the same as the P4X. And that's really the difference between a steel frame gun and an aluminum frame gun. If you think about where the guns are carrying weight, the aluminum frame weighs basically the same as plastic and it's below the barrel. So all the weight is on top of the barrel with the slide. Steel frame is more balanced where it's adding weight underneath the barrel, so it doesn't feel like it wants to rotate as much. Aluminum frame guns, you know, steel frame guns, slide's gonna come back and then the muzzle's gonna lift and they kind of go forward. They might jump a little bit, but aluminum frame guns feel like they wanna do this. They wanna like jump out of your hand, and that's really the difference in how they feel. If you were optimizing for concealed carry, absolutely the C4X. if you're optimizing for performance, for sure the P4X is just easier shooting. My favorite of the Staccato HD series is the P4.5. It's kind of slept on. It moves the slide like a short barreled gun, but it doesn't jump as much as a short barrel gun. It's just super tame. I think it's something that could be looked at in competition, but we'll see how it compares to the P4X. P4.5 definitely hits in the hand a little bit harder. It doesn't hit hard, it's just you can feel it in your palm more. The Compensator does what compensators do, and it's taking the energy off the slide. This doesn't have a compensator, it just has a barrel weight basically. But I still love how this gun shoots. If you were optimizing for like IDPA performance, I would say the P4X is probably the way to go. The P4.5 I think is still my favorite all-rounder from the Staccato HD lineup because it shoots soft enough. It's light enough where you can flex it into a bunch of rolls, but it's still heavy enough to where you get the benefit of it at distance and that kind of shooting. So great gun, the Staccato XC. The Staccato XC was like my original grail gun, and it still is one of my favorite guns that I have. It has a monolithic island comp. The compensator on the P4X is not an island, it's just a monolithic compensator, but it's called an island because the front sight kind of goes back into the slide. It's got that male-female relationship. But this gun is sprung better, and it's got a heavier dust cover, and it's got a longer slide, so it doesn't feel as urgent. This is still the gentlest shooting of the Staccato lineup. Now the P4X is actually intended to be a duty gun, so the springing is similar to that of a duty gun. I think it has the same recoil spring weight as my regular P4, and the trigger isn't lightened up any. It is about a 4.5 pound trigger, which it's a good clean trigger, whereas the Staccato XC had a notably lighter recoil spring and a lightened up trigger from the factory, not like the other 2011s that they offered. So there is a difference between the P4X and the regular XC as far as how Staccato views the gun. As far as ammo velocity is concerned, I shot 4 different types of ammo that you can see on the screen now through it. This is from my app Carbon Buildup, which is in open beta. You can go to the link in the description if you're an iPhone user and check out the app before it releases. It's basically a firearms fleet management tool, so you can know when your springs are going, when your consumable small parts are going to fail. It ages all of those independently, and it keeps all your load data specific to the guns in there and a bunch of other cool stuff too. You should check it out. Carbonbuildup.app is the website. So generally, I'm a fan of the Staccato HD series, specifically because the grips are smaller and the controls are more reachable. It just feels like it's designed for a human hand. That said, I prefer the P4.5, as I've said before, at the range to the P4X because I feel like the non-compensated version of the gun that still shoots silly soft is a better all-rounder. It's a little bit heavier, it's just a little bit easier to live with, although this one definitely does dumb down the recoil more. Now that all said, I do have to ask the question, is there really like a bunch of police that are crying out wanting a compensated version of a duty pistol? If you guys have been following Staccato since they rebranded, everything's built for heroes, so they've been more focused on what the law enforcement community wants and less focused on what the civilian market wants. But at this point, like a compensator, if you're familiar with them, they work by redirecting gas that would otherwise go out of the muzzle and go in different directions. And that takes energy off the slide. And that means that the operating window for a gun like this is going to be lower than a gun without a compensator like this because there's more energy on the slide. That means this gun can run dirtier. You can get your thumb and finger on the slide and you're more likely to have it cycle properly than you could on something with a compensator. And these guns are more ammo sensitive. Remember at the beginning when we talked about spring rates? All right, just because the P4X was having issues strong hand only, I'm gonna try the C4X as well to see if it's a spring rate thing with that particular gun, or if it is an issue common to just this compensator design on these pistols. So for whatever reason, the C4X doesn't have the issue. See if we can recreate it with the P4X using the Fiocchi 115 range dynamics. That time it didn't have the issue. I'm not real sure. I poured water on it to cool it off. Maybe that's lubricating it. I brought out the Staccato XC as well, just to see. Same ammo, 115 range dynamics. No problem there. I've got some Wilson Combat 135 grain. Let's see what happens if we put it through there. Okay, there's one with the Wilson Combat. The ejection is going crazy without my other hand on the gun. Yeah, that last round's got a piece of brass stuck in there, so I think the ejection in this particular gun might not be there. Let's see what happens. I think the issue is it's just dribbling brass out of the gun. I noticed it in the slow motion video, but with one hand on the gun, that becomes more of an issue. I'm gonna try the CX4, what are these called? C4X? Do it one more time, see if it's issue there. So you may have noticed the ejection was a lot more consistent on the C4X than it was on the P4X. It may be just the extractor in that particular gun. I cannot definitively tell you what was happening with this pistol, whether it's a design thing or it's a this specific gun has something wrong with it thing. When I don't have two hands on the gun, I can't put a firm enough wrist behind the gun to get it to kick the brass out reliably. And the other problem is the brass ejection pattern from this specific gun is erratic. That could be a part thing on this gun. It could be a bigger issue with more of the guns. I don't know, because there's just this one to look at. But that brings up the point of, like, is a compensator really something you want on a duty gun? The other thing is that compensators are super loud because it sends a lot of noise back at the shooter. And when you're wearing hearing protection, yeah, not a big deal. It's louder, but it's manageable. But when you shoot a compensated gun in confined spaces, and we used to have to do this in pistol matches, shooting through barrels, that compensator is absolutely deafening. And with a compensator on a duty gun, you're potentially shooting this in confined spaces all the time. So that's why I ask the question. Compensated guns are just super loud and they've got a narrower operating window. So there's that. There's some other stuff that you're gonna wanna know about the Staccato HD series pistol. The Staccato plate system requires the screws to be a little bit longer because the screws are not threading into the plate, they're threading into the slide, so it acts as a spacer. So you need the screws to be just a little bit longer. Some optics are not going to come with screws that are long enough to work on these Staccato pistols, so you're going to have to figure out how to get some longer screws. There's a number of optic companies that sell screw packs that have longer screws. That's probably a good place to start looking. When you first get a Staccato HD pistol, and this is true on this pistol as well, because it's more difficult to take apart than a Legacy 2011, I'll just show you what I mean. For me to take apart this Legacy 2011, I have to move the slide back just to there. That's how far I have to move it back. It's about halfway through the stroke length on the slide. When I want to take apart an HD series of pistol, it's about 80 or so, 85% of the way all the way to the rear. So you've got the spring maximally loaded up, pushing against your hand when you do it. And when you get it, the slide stop is like super tight in there. After you shoot it, it loosens up and they come apart easily. But if you're mounting an optic on it, which you will probably before you take it to the range, you may have to do it with the slide still on the frame, which is what happened with this specific pistol, because I couldn't get it apart in the short amount of time I tried to. It was late at night, I wanted to go to bed, and I was trying to get the optic on this gun. After about 3 minutes of fighting with the thing, I just gave up on getting the slide off and just mounted it, and it worked. So the other thing to know about is once you get the slide off, there's a spring inside the area the leg for the slide stop goes in right there that is oriented up down with the frame. When you take the slide off, if this spring pops out, you're gonna have to put it back in. Don't lose that spring. Another thing about the HD series of pistols, the traction on the grip is absolutely fantastic if you're shooting it, if it's primarily for the range or you're not gonna be concealed carrying it. The traction that it comes on the guns is very kind of abrasive. It's like almost like a medium sandpaper type feel to it. It will grab your shirts. If you're wearing like those fishing shirts, like ponchos or Magellan shirts or whatever, those will make a weird rubbing sound on it. So I ended up putting grip tape on the ones that I have messed around with carrying, because the grip tape dumbs down that traction on the heel of the grip, which is what interferes with the shirt. The P4X is absolutely the softest shooting pistol in the Staccato HD series of pistols. It is still outclassed by the XC if you're solving for absolutely the softest shooting pistol in the Staccato family, but at the same time, The P4.5 is a brilliant all-rounder. I really like the P4.5. I think it's just a slept-on pistol. It's super nice. I want to thank Mike at Not Just Guns again for giving me the opportunity to shoot this pistol. And if you're curious about the C4X and how it shoots against bigger guns, I did this video comparing it to much larger guns and how I shoot it next to my competition guns. You might enjoy that one as well. I appreciate you guys. I'll catch you on the next one.